Do you hope this portfolio site will, or has it already replaced your resume?
Dude, so if you click on the blog section or the essay section, you'll see there's an article called "Content Kill the Resume." That's
Yes.
literally what I believe. I think that like having a content portfolio, and by content I mean very generally, it can be audio, it can be writing, it can be like projects. If you're a designer, it could just be like designs and your like process, like documenting your process of doing whatever it is that you're doing. That's going to replace a resume. I think that with the internet and with the fact that everyone is connected and you kind of have access to find work opportunities that you otherwise couldn't have. And this is especially true with remote work now that you don't have to be in a specific city or specific country to work at a company or to work with certain people. It's only going to get bigger. Those opportunities are only going to be more numerous. Showing that you can do something is a lot more important and a lot more indicative of like what you can do versus saying like, hey, I worked at XYZ company, I went to XYZ school. And I think that especially for like when I was a startup founder, one of the things that we thought about a lot was hiring. And this is something I thought about a lot in my particular role. How do you find the best people? How do you create the best team? And when we were hiring people, we would always look at the stuff that they did previously. And I think that like, if you could just make it easy for people to see the quality of your work, that's like what the purpose of a portfolio is. I think there's like 5 reasons that I wrote down, but yeah, one of them is like, showing proof of work. There's like a Bitcoin concept, proof of work, showing that like, you're able to do high quality work, so that's not a question. The question becomes a question of like cultural fit, or is it aligned with your motivations?
There's this funny thing I heard about in terms of proof of work where people would go into interviews, be it consulting or finance, and like halfway through the interview, they would just start speaking another language. Because
that's kind of weird. Yeah. Okay.
If that was listed on your resume as fluency, they're going to have someone interview you and just start speaking another language and see if you can keep up.
I used to have gotten called out so bad for his Spanish.
Yeah, we have a friend. On his resume, he was fluent in Spanish, I think, or high fluency. And I mean,
he never took Spanish. He just lived in Miami. So he put it down.
He just said it. Wow. That's so funny.
So yeah, I think that the concept of proof of work is super cool. I think resumes are on their way out. It's going to take a long time, but
it's going to take a while. I think especially for more technology-oriented things, they're already starting to be phased out. And I think anything where you can show that you can do the job, that's the ultimate thing. One of the ways that I actually managed to finance the startup that I co-founded was I created some content for this company so let me just say the story. So one of the ways that my startup got funding was I was introduced to this one company. I wanted to work there. And so I did a whole like report on their growth strategy, and I was already using their software. And so I built something, and I was like, hey, here's this my feelings about how you guys can grow the company. Here's this thing that I built with it. This is what I think about it so far. And that whole interview process wasn't about like, oh, are you capable of doing the work? Because they could see like, hey, this is how I think. There's an artifact to show that you can have a conversation around. And that company actually ended up investing in the company that I co-founded. So
Afari, or what is?
So the company that I co-founded is called Afari. And our investors were called Blockstack. So we had investment from the Blockstack Signature Fund.
Because of something you did.
Exactly. And it was a project that I worked on. It started off as a school project, and then I was like, okay, a lot of people are probably building applications, but what if I went in beyond that to the growth side of things and the user side of things? So exactly. And that's what I recommend to people who.
It's crazy. Yeah. Sorry, I just get so excited. I have to.
Do you remember when we were talking about Shark Tank, Dylan?
Yeah.
Like that is how people get funded. It's not you show up in a meeting room with 6 sharks in front of you and you're bickering over 40% of your company. It's like at lunch over an awesome project you did. Like
I saw a thing on Twitter yesterday that was like, the best way to get funded isn't by having a perfect pitch deck. It's by having a demo of your product and the round being like 85% full. So the demo of the product is the most important thing. Like Naval always says, a founder's resume is the product. Like that's the key.
Well, I think about this all the time too. And then Dylan, I hope you remember that point you're about to make before I interrupted you.
Never do, but there's so many, it's fine.
When I think about what I'm doing right now, which is just like sheer creation, it's like in the physical form. I'm like, how is this going to serve me in 1 month's time when I need to finance a startup, if I need to finance a startup? And then I'm like, well, if anything, it should just be this like symbol of when I set my mind to something, like I see it through, like the persistence is there in video locked in. And I'm like, that speaks for itself.